Hi, welcome to Simply Current Affairs. So before going into today's editorial discussion, let me give the feedback for the yesterday's question. So what was the question? The April 8, 2025 verdict of Supreme Court, while aiming to uphold the federal structure, has been criticized for potentially undermining foundational constitutional principles. Discuss. See here, you can start your introduction by giving the brief information about the verdict of Supreme Court. While evaluating, I noticed many students have given detailed information about the verdict. Detailed timeline information was given. That much is not required. Just explain that the Supreme Court verdict was providing a time frame for the governor and the president to take action with respect to bills passed by state legislature. That much is sufficient. Or if you want, you can also mention that Supreme Court invoked Article 142 and passed the pending bills in the state legislature to ensure complete justice. If you want, you can add that point, or you can simply finish with the first point, because this is 10 marker. For introduction, we cannot spend more than 20-25 words, maximum 20 words I would say, or in the worst case 25. Right. So then you can go into the next part. So while aiming to uphold the federal structure, so the judgment is aiming to uphold the federal structure. So link the introduction with this federal structure concept and you write how this judgment is upholding the federal structure. So in the yesterday's editorial only I have detailedly explained. Okay, so if you haven't watched the editorial, please watch the previous video. And also if you are new to this video series, please watch my intro video given in the playlist to know how to participate in this initiative. So now after the intro, you link your introduction with the aim of the judgment, that is upholding federal structure. You link it and give points how the judgment is upholding federal structure, that you give points, right? Then it has been criticized for potentially undermining the foundational constitutional principles. So it is not mere criticism. The judgment was criticized for undermining the constitutional principles. So mere criticism is not sufficient. You have to highlight the criticizing points, linking with how the judgment has undermined the constitutional principles. For example, a Supreme Court, the role is to interpret the Constitution. But however, this judgment is altering the design of the Constitution. So that is undermining the foundational constitutional principles. One example I am saying. Okay. So you have to link, mere criticism is not correct. You have to link it with the constitutional principles. So discuss. So let us take an answer. Mayuri. I would say one of the best answer, and in my recent days of evaluation, your answer is really, really good. Of course, there are a few points which I would like to highlight. But this is a critical question and you have given a very good answer. I have to appreciate that. See, she has given a brief introduction. On April 8, 2025, Supreme Court came with the verdict which proposed timelines for governor and president with respect to passage of bills on state legislature. You also mentioned about Article 142, but you did not complete it. Supreme Court invoked, but what Supreme Court did with it, that you could have added here, but it's okay. Introduction was brief, to the point. Then you are bringing the how this verdict is upholding the federal structure. You are giving points. So first point, you are saying that this verdict is honoring the autonomy of the state legislature. Fair point. Second point, so this time frame is actually checking the discretionary powers of the governor. Fair point. But only one suggestion I would say. In the second point, you have mentioned that this time frame, that is checking the discretionary powers of governor, right, or president. You stop it here. Don't mention against the bill passed by the state legislature and opposition ruled states. Okay, so let us not bring that point. We can simply say the verdict checks the discretionary powers of governor and president with respect to bills passed by state legislature. Or you can stop it here. We can keep full stop here. Okay, that opposition ruled states point, that alone we can avoid. Right? because the judgment is not about the opposition ruled states. It is common, right? So let us avoid that. The third point I'm not able to understand. The judicial review of executive discretions enhances accountability of governor president to act neutrally and impartially and not merely as agents of central government. See this, I'm not able to understand how you are linking with the judgment. There is no clarity here. Then coming to the criticism part. So you have mentioned about the judicial overreach that we are able to understand. So here the judiciary is entering into the legislature's powers and they are enacting new rules. So that judicial overreach point I am able to understand. So they are altering the design of the constitution instead of interpretation. That point I am able to understand. And also this is a very interesting point which I did not highlight in the discussion. Good. So usually when constitutional cases are coming for hearing in Supreme Court, then a 5-member bench is what usually will be appointed. So to look into a question of constitutional law. But however, this judgment had only 2-judge bench. Okay, so these are also some criticism. So you have fair points. Then conclusions. How we can conclude such questions? See, ultimately this judgment aims to strengthen these inter-state relations. If there is no time frame, the state will lose the trust on the constitutional institution called as governor. But however, governor is appointed by central government, so ultimately this lack of time frame will dilute the trust between the state and center. Particularly, it will dilute the trust of the state on center. So, this judgment aims to strengthen the center-state relation. What is required is a constitutional amendment, taking the recommendations of Punchi Commission, Sarkaria Commission. The amendment should ensure that the role of governor is properly defined and also that brings trust for the state government over the constitutional position called as governor. Like that, you can give a conclusion. You can have your own conclusion. Mayuri's conclusion is very good actually. So providing clear limits on discretionary powers of constitutional heads by implementing Sarkaria and Punchi Commission recommendation, amending Article 155 regarding the appointment of governor with state consultation will ensure cooperative federalism. Right? Very good answer. Everyone please go through this answer. As you all know, I will be sharing the best answers in the description. You can download it. And also I will be sharing the editorial analysis also in the description. You can download that. So let's move on to today's agenda. We have taken an editorial topic from the Economic Times, deals with smallness bias. What is a smallness bias? Let me explain. See, when a country is enacting a law, that law will affect or influence the spirit of the nation. When government is coming up with a law, when the state is coming up with a law, that is going to affect the spirit of the nation. That is going to influence the action of the people. This action over a period will become behavior. This behavior over a period will become patterned and it will become difficult to change the behavior. Indian legislations are deeply rooted with socialistic principles. So, if you look at the Indian legislations, laws, that will favor, help, incentivize small businesses in general. For example, you take micro, small, medium enterprises. There are so many schemes. We have so many schemes which provide some affordable credit, which gives them credit guarantee, which gives them tax concession. So, Indian laws will incentivize small businesses when compared to the big industries. For the simple reason, it is the small businesses which needs hand-holding, which needs support. So when we support these small businesses in their emerging stage, that will eventually become bigger. When that eventually become bigger, employment opportunities will improve, government's tax revenue will improve, globally competitive products will be producing, our exports can be improved. For all these things, we have to provide sufficient nurturing support for small businesses at the initial stage. That is the reason behind our laws favoring or our laws incentivizing small businesses. But the author says this approach is actually backfiring the growth of India. It is backfiring the innovation in India. It is backfiring the economies of scale in India. It is backfiring the competitiveness of India. How, sir? See, let's take automobile industry. Let us take car manufacturing. In India, we have a policy. Those cars which are smaller in size will have tax concessions. That's a condition for all the sub 4 meter car. Those cars whose length is less than 4 meters. And also there are some more specifications. So the engine capacity should be low. Okay, it's 1000, not more than 1500 cc engine. Okay, and also those cars with less than 4 meter length. For those cars, government gives lot of tax concessions. So because of this, what happens? The government's intention is different. Small cars, given the population density, given the traffic congestion, small cars will help to reduce the congestion and traffic. And also, such small cars, when it is produced in large numbers, it will become affordable. Many families can own a car. The quality of life, standard of living can be improved, right? We can minimize the inequality. So we have some socialistic ideas also behind this policy. But however, what is the consequence? The automobile sector in the country, they are more focusing on coming up with more number of cars in the sub 4 meter category. So we see a new class of compact SUV, compact sedans, right? All these new cars, they are not focusing on performance. These cars are not focusing on comfort. These cars are simply focusing on getting the tax concessions. So because of this, the government intention is different, but unfortunately, government's policies is favoring the smallness. There's a bias towards the smallness. What is the consequence? In India, we are not having our own BMW. In India, we are not having any company like Audi. In India, we are not having something like BYD, Build Your Dreams. Right, so all our car segments are focusing on small cars, which is there is no innovation, there is no better power, it is not globally competitive. So we are losing that advantage in the automobile sector. Similarly, the author is highlighting one more example. Dwarf companies. In India, more than 50% of companies are coming under dwarf companies category. Sir, what is dwarf companies? Dwarf companies were defined in the 2018-19 economic survey. Dwarf companies are those companies which are having an employees of less than 100 for more than 10 years. So the companies are there for more than 10 years, but the number of employees are less than 100. These companies are called as dwarf companies. Almost 50% or more than that in India are dwarf companies. These companies are not scaling up. Why they are not scaling up? Why they are not becoming bigger? Because when they become bigger, they will lose out all the incentives which government was giving. Let us say I am running a micro, small, medium enterprise. If I continue in this MSME category, I will get a lot of benefits. If I expand, if I cross the threshold of my business, I will lose out all those benefits. So I choose to remain small. I choose to remain average. And what is the consequence? The contribution given by these small companies to the nation's growth is very, very less. Their productivity is very, very less. Right? So we are getting trapped in this averageness. We are becoming mediocre. The society is getting optimized for this average performance, right? The author is also highlighting another point. So even today in India, various states, there are some floor space criteria to start a factory. For example, if Guna wants to start a factory, a bigger factory, I cannot operate that factory on a multi-story building. I cannot operate in a multi-story building. So I have to spread my factory in a bigger land area. That condition, for example, if I start a factory, maybe ground floor or ground floor plus first floor, not beyond that I cannot construct. So I have to horizontally expand my factory, not vertically. That is not the case with respect to Singapore or other Southeast Asian countries. But if you take small factories, let's say small garment factory, textile small garment factory, even today you will see it will be operating in multi-story buildings. 5 floors, 6 floors, you will find tailors stitching cloths. So when it is smaller in size, such restrictions are not getting applied. So the garment factory, what will decide? Let us play with this smaller scale only. If we become bigger, then we have to go and meet the new requirements, new floor space requirements. So what they decide? They decide to stay small. The author also highlighted another example in this article that is regarding floor space condition for the factories. So if Guna is starting a small garment factory, so there is no big restrictions in India. For example, maybe inside a street, I might be taking a small, maybe an apartment, imagine, or 2-3 floors apartment. I can rent it together in a small 2000 square feet with 5 floors or 4 floors. I can run a small garment factory. But if I cross the threshold, if I am increasing my production and if I increase my resources, then there are many conditions. One condition is floor space condition. So bigger factories, they cannot operate in multi-story buildings. So what I was running in a multi-story building, that same thing I cannot replicate in a bigger size factory. In a bigger size factory, I will be expected to expand horizontally. So in many states, the condition is G+1, maximum first floor I can construct. So what happens? The advantages which I had when I was small, operating in a multi-story building, that was more efficient because land requirement is less. When I expand my business, land requirement becomes more. So I will be requiring 20,000, 25,000 square feet because I cannot build more than first floor. So these conditions will deter the small persons, they will deter the small factory, small businesses to expand further. What Guna will think, oh, if I expand my business, I need more land area means more investment. So let me continue in this small, micro, small, medium scale only. Now, what is the consequence of this smallness bias? The consequence is we will remain mediocre, we will remain average, no production efficiency, productivity will be affected. Economies of scale cannot be achieved. Only when you increase the size, increase the production, you can achieve economies of scale. When you achieve economies of scale, the prices will come down. When the prices comes down, the domestic consumers will also be benefited. Your products will become globally competitive. Right? So we are losing out this economies of scale. Innovation, see, only when you are thinking bigger, to achieve that big, you need innovation. So when your thought is remaining small, there is no need for innovation. You will focus only on survival. So there is lack of innovation, right? And also, more importantly, these benefits given to these small industries that goes unlimited without any end. So the government resources are also getting exhausted because of this approach. So what shall we do? Recently, our Prime Minister in the Independence Day speech was highlighting about setting up of a commission for bringing new generation reforms. So accordingly, a commission has been set up under the chairmanship of former Cabinet Secretary and Niti Aayog member, Mr. Rajiv Gauba. Gauba committee has been appointed. So this author of this article is suggesting some points for this committee to be considered. You might ask, so who is this author who is suggesting some points to the committee? The author is the consultant for the Economic Advisory Council of Prime Minister. Keep that in mind. Now, what are the suggestions given by this author? The author says, see, instead of incentivizing the small businesses, it's better we can incentivize the production. When the production increases, we will incentivize. We will incentivize the employment. As a company increases the employment opportunities, we will incentivize. We will incentivize innovation. We will incentivize economies of scale. See, it is not that we should not encourage small businesses. The author says we have to encourage small businesses. We have to nurture, handhold the small businesses. But that should not go unlimited. There should be a threshold. There should be a sunset clause. There should be a sunset clause. So, let's say for example, Guna is starting a business. Now I come under micro category. Now government is giving me support. This support should be for maybe next 3 years, 4 years, not beyond that. So create a sunset clause. So according to the author, if India gets trapped in this smallness bias, then our society will be optimized for mediocrity. If the society decides to overcome this and chooses to align with bigger aspirations, innovations, economies of scale, then definitely India will have its leverage advantage in the emerging geopolitics. Right friends, I hope you got clarity on the topic which we discussed. You can also give your opinion in the comment section. So what do you think about this author's article? So now based on this discussion, I will give you a question. While introduced with egalitarian objectives, India's adoption of socialist-inspired economic policies have become growth inhibitors rather than enablers. Discuss this paradox and propose a way forward. 10-marker question, you are expected to write 150 words. So how we should approach this question? So you highlight in the introduction part that what is the reason why we have come up with such economic policies. So what motivated us to bring such economic policies? We have some intention, right? That you highlight. But our intention was different, but the consequence is different. That is going to be your next part. Then suggest measures how to address these consequences. Right friends, please submit your answer for this question before 9 a.m. tomorrow, and once after emailing me at upscwithgunasir@gmail.com, please mention that in the comment section of the video that you have sent an email, and also please give your feedback. Your feedback is motivating us a lot. So this initiative is between Monday to Friday. Today is Friday, so I will see you on Monday with another interesting editorial topic. Till then, bye. Take care from Guna Mathivanan.